welcome, hello. This is the Happy Weight podcast. This is Aoife Dean, and I have brought with me this evening my friend Trisha Norton. And today we are going to be talking about all things weight and disordered eating and binge eating. Okay, so I think a kind of really good topic that I thought would help people is that usually when we're trying to lose weight, there's a lot of urgency. Like when we've a kind of disordered relationship with our body, like we really, really don't like our body. We really don't want to be this weight, and we don't want to accept this weight. It's a horrible place to be in. And it creates a lot of urgency. And when we're in that space, we think that urgency is really going to help us. We kind of think that like it's good to call a spade a spade. It's good to say my body is gross. I need to change it. I need to do a 180. I need to do something severe, rapid, extreme. I need to get all 4 years worth of weight in 1 month and all of this. But actually, that urgency doesn't help us at all. That urgency leads us to very erratic eating behaviors and generally another kind of continuation of the mistreatment of our bodies. So, Trisha, I suppose in your own experience, do you kind of know what I'm talking about there? Would you have experienced similar or anything?
For sure, like that sense of, okay, that's it now, I'm just going to cut out X, Y, and Z or eat like this amount. But like what I was thinking about there when you were talking, I was like, where does that urgency come from? Like what sparks in the brain that makes that urgency exist?
Well, I remember wanting to get out of my own skin.
Okay.
I remember hating my excess weight so much. I just wanted to really not be in my body. I just wanted it gone.
Yeah.
And like, it's not helpful for anything, obviously.
It sounds like such an immediate... It sounds like the feeling of disgust is so strong and the need to get away from it is so immediate.
Yes.
That drives the opposite reaction of the urgency to be the opposite side. You know what I mean?
And you think, the thing is, you think the solution is to change your body, actually to ramp up the hatred to motivate rapid change. But actually, the thing you need to change is the level of hatred.
God, that's hard to hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like how, if we think of ourselves as like, delicate little children, which we all are inside, there's a little Trisha inside of me and a little Eve inside of you. Thank God I didn't say it the other way around.
Yeah.
But imagine just like shouting at your little inner child, being like, God, you're ugly and awful.
Oh
and like,
my God.
Ugh, and like you're, just like being like the only way you're going to change is for me to hate you more. Like, it just feels mad when we think about it.
But it's really, it gets more ridiculous the more you think about it.
Objectively, like,
yeah, because it's kind of like, I don't know, you can imagine like, I don't know, a coach who trains Olympians.
Yeah.
He's hardly kind of like, do you remember that one day you were sick, or do you remember that one thing you didn't do, or like coaching and improving something isn't about focusing on the negative. It's about focusing on your strengths and your potential and where you could go. And then, I was talking to a client today about this, and, maybe it was because like our ancestors had it tough and they treated or talked, their inner dialogue was quite negative. So we just learned to do that too. But like, we kind of have to draw a line under it and just kind of realize that it's going to keep us very stuck. And, those thoughts are so familiar. Those hateful thoughts are so familiar.
You almost don't hear them.
You don't hear them.
Yeah.
You believe them. You think they're part of you. You believe that is who you are. You believe it's a personality type or something.
Or you believe it's fact. It's weird because like one of the biggest things I always say is don't believe everything you think. Because everything you think isn't a fact.
Yeah.
But like it's how do we find that space in our minds to even begin to know that what we're thinking is not a fact, that the urgency is not a fact. Like, it's weird because if you'd say, right, next week I'm going to be a stone lighter and eat nothing, and all of a sudden that seems like that's a fact and that's definitely going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
How do we challenge those voices?
Well, first of all, I kind of think that, like, I heard it put very well, last week or something about, like, it's not as if your thoughts have some qualification that you don't. It's not as if they have some like, intel or something. It's not as if part of your brain is a qualified dietitian or nutritionist or something. So when the thought says you shouldn't have eaten that it's fact somehow.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not. It's just a silly thought,
Yeah.
So I kind of think that we have to start by separating ourselves a little bit from ourselves and just watching how things go, like watching the cycles or observing the patterns, because it's kind of like, oh, I've had this familiar hateful thought before.
Yeah.
I've been in this familiar hateful mood before.
Yeah.
What kind of eating happens those nights when I'm in this hateful mood?
Okay.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if those hateful thoughts, whether they're true or not, say the thoughts are saying your body is really gross. The main thing is that if you believe it, so if you're believing it and then you're in a bit of a funky bad mood for the night, and chances are with a disordered eater or an emotional eater, that's not going to lead to a positive evening of eating.
Because you want comfort.
Yeah. So I think we need to like really break down our weight to the nitty gritty. It's like, it's the little hours that matter. It's the little like mornings or the middle part of your day or the evening. And, that's another thing that urgency overlooks, because like, blah, 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 none of this matters. Next week, big giant diet cures, like, I'm going to lose 2 stone. It will cure everything. It'll be amazing. And it's like, blah, blah, blah. So this evening doesn't matter. Whatever happens, happens. And it's kind of like, no, we have to break down our life into kind of more bite-sized pieces. Like, it's kind of like, how could I just get this evening right? Like, what would I need to think about my body about my body or myself or my ability to have a nice evening tonight. Like, I think playing it differently is always a success. So we know how it goes when we like white knuckle it and we're cruel to ourselves in the not eating way.
Yeah.
And then we know what it's like to like just go bananas and be like, none of this matters. I believe my negative thoughts. My body is a mess. My body will never change. My body will take too long to change. It'll be some huge Everest of an effort that I'll have to like, I don't have the energy to start that Everest tonight. So I'll start that Everest next week.
I know.
Do you know
what's really coming to me while you're talking is just the words, life is in the now. Change is in the now. Because we so often think that life is the past and the future. We spend so much of our lives thinking about all the shit that happened to us or how angry we are or whatever that is. And then we spend so much of our time thinking how things are going to be different in the future, and we keep on forgetting that neither exists now. And all that exists is actually the only moment we're in, because life is just a series of nows. And
this moment is creating the next.
Yeah, and that's your point of power.
Yeah.
And as you say, the big Everest is awful in your head. But if you break it up into lots of nows, lots of choices in the now, a choice to eat a different breakfast now, a choice to drink a pint of water now, a choice to... So instead of it becoming like this, and like I totally have that, or had that, and still in lots of ways have that, it's a trauma response really of like wanting to so desperately not be in pain that we want to run the opposite way into saving ourselves in the opposite extreme. So it's like, well, if I'm like this, I'm going to do the exact opposite and it's going to be massive big change because I so don't want to be there. So instead, what's shifted my patterning is, how can I bring in comfort now? And it could be something as simple as like, turning off the big light and putting on a candle. Instead of like having a big heavy dinner, it's like maybe just having something smaller or a bath. Or it's like suddenly once we soften the now, everything just gets easier instead of the Everest that we want in the future.
And it's so doable, because I think we were talking about this before, and I think I was working up in my room or something, and I realised after hours that my ankles were freezing. Like, I could have just put on cozy socks. Like, such an easy solution. But it's kind of like, I know that, but like, these little things, they kind of do add up to how well kept you are.
Yeah.
You know, how well maintained you are, how well minded you are.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you know, I suppose we have to kind of realize that the language of our body is very different to the language of our mind, because say in our mind or in other areas of our life, it's okay to be like, you're screw it, I won't study for the first 2 weeks and then I'll cram in the last week.
Yeah.
And you can, do you know what I mean? But like with our body, it's like, if you stand out in the snow for 4 days in a bikini, you can't then put on loads of fleece jumpers the next day and cancel it out. It's like your body is working in real time. It's like you kind of have to feel like it's always watching everything. It's watching how you're treating it now. And that's why we have to kind of, I suppose, two things that are very helpful with that is the concept of progress, not perfection. So say if yesterday we really threw ourselves under the bus and we had a lot of stuff and we felt very ill after it or whatever, that if we just didn't do it to that extent this evening, that would be progress. If we ate like one less thing, that would be progress. Or felt slightly more comfortable going to bed, that would be progress. Do you know?
How do those small changes then feel enough? How do we try to soothe the mind, even though the body feels better? Like, and I know this, like, you know, I know the body feels better, but if I'm thinking about where where my mindset would have been before, like, how do I convince the mind that we're doing enough? Because the mind tries to screw you over, you know. Like, and when you've soothed the body, and it seems like a small thing, how do we convince the mind that it's enough?
Well, it would be lovely to understand just how super intelligent our body is, you know, how many wounds it heals, how, like, it's always known how to beat her heart, or, you know, how much oxygen, CO2 to make, etc. It's like, it really has it all figured out. So it really does know the best and healthiest and quickest way to lose weight. And I really have seen that with working with people, because earlier in my career, I used to work in a company where all the clients used to do 2 90-minute personal training sessions per week where they got beasted. And then I was like Hitler with their diet, literally telling them to eat stuff like 1/4 of a cucumber with something and something and something. Yeah. And like sometimes like those clients with all the effort and all the like super restriction that no doubt you like blew up in their face once the course ended, they were losing the same amount of weight as some of my clients now, who are basically just waiting till their belly rumbles before they eat.
Wow.
But their body composition, when you're doing it that way as well, like as in your body is not going to say, like, your body's not going to hold off on the signal of hunger while your body is breaking down muscle and bone. You know, it's not going to do that. It's going to make you eat before it goes to the point of too far.
Wow.
Do you know? So you're like, so when you're losing weight a healthy way, it's all the right stuff basically, you know, and it's at the right speed for you and probably for your lifestyle as well and stuff, do you know. But I mean, like, in terms of some of us can't like exercise every day, do you know what I mean? So it's about capabilities. So I think, to answer your question, this is why the accepting things is so important, because we need to keep reminding ourselves about how the weight came on. So the weight came on through lots of overeating, and every pound is 3,500 calories. So your body could be absolutely right behind you. In fact, it probably is. If we're gone past our natural weight, it absolutely would want to be helping you to get down to your natural optimum weight. And so it's going to be helping you to do that, but it will still take the kind of, you know, point of reaching that 3,500 mark of like basically your body getting the opportunity to use up 3,500 calories from the storeroom.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? So we have to accept that, like, I suppose that's why it's so much easier in a way to create the vision of who you're going to be and then let time do its thing. You know, like, that's another way of looking at it. It's probably a little bit off topic, but, you know, like we know where we're going to end up at. and then we're trusting our body is bringing us there. Like, that is obviously the holy grail.
I know.
And that is the opposite end of the spectrum when people have like urgency and fear where they can't stop either dieting or overeating.
Yeah.
But like, trust would be the antidote, you know?
I know, but isn't it funny that like the idea of like thinking back to where I was, like the idea of trusting the body to be that smart and on your side is so beyond what you're thinking. Like, do you know what I mean?
I know.
Like, you don't think the body, when I think of like how I saw the body, it feels like a burden as opposed to something that was so gorgeously working for me, you know? So like that, like I'm training to be a yoga teacher at the moment. So like I was with my yoga teacher and we did like a 2-hour call on like the muscles in the hip. You know what I mean? And I was just like, oh my God, all of these blood vessels, nerves, muscles, bones, everything, they're all in my body. Like, do you know? Like, they're all working for me. Like, that ecosystem is mine. And how did I not know that this amazing miracle is happening every moment? Like,
I know.
you
But
know?
I suppose that's what makes all of this stuff just noise. It's just an addiction, you know what I mean? Because it's not the truth. It's not the truth of like your potential or your happiness or what you could achieve in life. Like, ultimately, if you're a few sizes up or down, no one cares and it doesn't have to affect things. So us like really thinking it is everything is just kind of a distraction from what we're really capable of.
Yeah.
But I know that doesn't make it any less real when you're in it. But I wish I could kind of consolidate or do a montage video of like all the patients I've worked with and just like, you know, the ones that are like really urgent. And to be honest now, I'd probably sieve them out and maybe they wouldn't be at the stage where working with me would be beneficial if they're too anxious. Do you know what I mean? But if they're like, it needs to go now, the weight needs to be gone now, it needs to be gone now. They're kind of like in one breath saying, you know, are you sure this is going to be fast enough? Are you sure this is going to be fast enough? And then in another breath, they're like, boom, binge eating for 2 days.
Yeah.
Whereas the steady eddies are like, you know, bombing past them in terms of results because they're never giving up any one food, or there's never an uncomfortable day where they need then to overshoot the runway of
treat
comfort.
days.
I've worked so hard, or I've been so rigid, or I've compromised so much, I've made some really good choices this week. And so any of that kind of, I've made good choices is usually kind of equal to I deserve kind of mentality. And neither of them are probably listening to your body, like as in
deprivation is never like your body doesn't want to be deprived. Like when you think about it, like why would you deprive your body? Like
I know it's mad because
deprive or what's the word, like excess, do you know, like to over fill it, like it's like stuffing a funnel down your neck or something and just like putting food in when you think about it, or taking that funnel away and putting nothing in. Do you know, it's like why would we do either?
Well, that's the disconnection because when we've like disordered eating, we're not doing any of it with our body. We're not interested in the smell, the taste, the feeling in our stomach. We're interested in what we're allowed. We're interested in what we can get away with. Like we've consumed so many diets that it's like, well, you have to have a snack, like you have to have a lunch, and like these are a good choice, so you can snack on them. Like, you know, it's like, so there's no calories in corn cakes, I can just eat them all day, or whatever it might be. And it's all just kind of permission based. It's like I can justify it, I can get away with it, and it's a real kind of like all of that is food scarcity. You know, like the idea that. You know, because there's not enough food around, we need to like justify every time we eat it, do you know?
Do you know what's really coming in is the idea that we don't work with our bodies, you know, we don't actually connect with them. I'm totally losing my train of thought now. I'm like, what is it? It's okay, totally right. I'm just going to like reconnect. What was it? It was like really good. Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah. No, so it's basically the idea that we don't work with our bodies. Actually, we've always been weaponizing our bodies as something to either beat ourselves up over or to define our values with, you know. Isn't that interesting that like if we can actually get to the space where we can know our value, like, because it's so pushed in our face in society that our value is our body, and therefore, like, if we don't have a certain type of shape or whatever, then we're valueless, you know. And then suddenly we feel disgusting, and then we feel like, ugh, why am I like this? Like,
or you could say it like, we feel valueless and we use our vehicle, or we use our body as a vehicle for that,
punishment as well.
We kind of, it's kind of almost like we want to feel useless, or we feel we're deserving of being useless, and then we'll say that our body is the reason why we feel useless.
Okay, interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because obviously there is someone who is that size and doesn't beat themselves up about it.
Yes.
Do you know, or can put it in context, maybe context of, you know, the past year and the pandemic and eating a bit more, and, you know, can just be kind of rational about it. Like, you know, kind of rational about how we gain weight, how it's got nothing to do with being a failure. Maybe it's got something to do with we're less organized, or we had more takeaways with our family, or, you know, but it's all pretty like logical and reasonable, and lots of other people are doing it. Like, it really doesn't need to be a source of like the shame. So it's yet again, it's all about our self-talk. Like, some people will just have a high bar for their self-talk, so regardless of how much weight they'd put on, they'd never talk to themselves like that. You know, they just wouldn't. And I think, I remember myself, I was all like, positive about your body. But I was like, of course I'll do that when I lose weight. Like, obviously I'll do that when I lose weight. But it's kind of like, you don't realize that your decision to not be positive about your body now is what's going to like make your weight worse, you know?
And again, we're coming back to like your life changes in this moment, this now moment. And we're also, though, like, it also kind of comes back to, I think that when we accept things, they change. So we're saying, I accept this body now. In an ideal world, we'd be totally non-judgmental and say, it's neither bad nor good. It's just, this is my body today. What happens if we don't accept our body though? Like, what happens if we don't? Like, what happens if we genuinely don't?
Well,
what can we say that will help us in that space?
So I suppose that's the whole, like, I want to get out of the skin again. Like, I want to have a different body immediately. Well, I suppose if you are in that phase, it is worth, like I said, observing your behaviors, because chances are there'll be a lot of like erratic plans. There'll be like going from no exercise to I'm going to sign up to a 10k, and then being like, okay, I'm off bread, and then eating a ton of bread, and there's going to be like inhaling whole packets of stuff.
I know.
So there's going to be like, whenever we don't accept our body, there's just a lot of urgency, because it's like to get out of it, but there's a backlash to that wanting to get out of it, in terms of the, you know, the backlash of the efforts to change it then equal the binging and the overeating too.
Could we use, instead of I accept the body, could we use I accept where I am right now instead?
Yeah.
Would that make it softer? Do you know? Because it might be hard to go from like that level of anxiety to like full acceptance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm not a massive believer in the whole like accept this body forever. Like don't dare to dream.
Yeah.
Because I don't even understand that concept, to be honest, because it's like with everything else, it's like dare to dream big, especially if you're a woman, don't be held down, you know, go for everything. And then there's kind of the chat in certain areas of the whole weight conversation of like, if you're this weight, that you should accept it. And I'm kind of like, accept it now out of your best interests, you know, in terms of that's a good attitude to have in life anyway. Make the best of where you're at, you know, like harness and utilize wherever you are and make the best of it. Like that just makes sense. That's going to get you to another level. But also in the background, you still can be kind of like, oh, one day I'm going to, you know, whatever. Like, I think it's kind of like with career or with a relationship or whatever, you know, you could be kind of like, say, you know, dating people or whatever, but you could be like, oh, one day I'll settle down probably, or one day I'll, you know, marry someone. And it's like, you wouldn't really link the two of like where you're at now means that you definitely will or you definitely won't. Like, unless we're in a negative headspace with it, we wouldn't see that connection. And equally, say if we're 15 years old and we get a part-time job, you know, you still could be positive about like, you know, one day I'll probably have like a higher paying job, and one day I'll have like more responsibilities in the job, or it'll be closer to my interests or whatever. So, you know, it's kind of the same with this. Like, we can dare to dream, but we can still accept where we are now. Or it's probably like saving for a house or something. Like, if your bank balance was, I don't know, €250, but you wanted to save for a house, there wouldn't be any point saying, I don't have €250 in my account, or I'm not even going to check my bank account. You know, you'd face the facts and you'd deal with them, and you still could be positive about where you're going, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think what I just feel coming in is just that I suppose we're lovable because we are. Do you know, as well though? Do you know, like that while everybody is beautiful, you know, like that everybody is such a unique just ecosystem, you know, so gorgeous, and that we are so valuable because we exist, and that our body doesn't define our value. But what I would wish, I suppose, for the younger me is to release that anxiety around the body. Do you know what I mean? Is actually just to come into neither lose weight nor gain weight nor whatever it is, like just to actually take away the hatred or the restriction or the overeating or whatever it is, like to actually live a life of joy, actually, and not make it be about whatever shape, size, whatever it is, you know, to actually just really remember our worth as a human being, you know, a human being with a beating heart and desires and hopes and people who love them, like, you know, and that our body does not take any of that away from us, and our life would actually be easier if we actually just embraced who and where we are right now, you know.
And in terms of likability or confidence or whatever the things that people are looking for in weight loss, you don't get them in weight loss. You get them in everything that you've said. And like, I just know from working with so many people that friends and family and stuff, they don't notice a stone. Like, it kind of has to be like a good bit more than a stone for people to notice. So, you know, in our heads, we could be like, why am I this weight? If only I was like half a stone lighter. It's like, no one would notice. But what people do notice is your permission to be confident. So whenever people are visualizing, you know, when they're at their ideal weight, it's always like they have a killer outfit and they're walking tall, and they've just basically given themselves the permission to be nice to themselves, or permission to buy clothes that look good on them and fit their figure. And when we're in a bad place with our weight, it's really quite common for people to not give themselves permission to buy clothes. Like, it sounds awful, but like, and we don't realize the harm it's doing. But, you know, you've every right to feel gorgeous. And the other thing is that it's not just a kind of like flippant thing I'm saying to say, you know, give up on your dreams. It's kind of the opposite, because it's like, you have to become your dream. Like, if you're kind of thinking, I'm going to be the person who walks into a party feeling confident about my body, you have to start practicing being that person. So that's a permission thing. That's a like, I give myself permission to look in the mirror and find positives. I give myself permission to put my shoulders back. And like, it was really funny one day because I had an initial meeting with someone, and those meetings are like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And she was going straight to the physio after me. I don't know, did I mention this in the last one? And the physio was like, oh my God, did you lose a load of weight? And I was like, she didn't, but we had just had like good chats and stuff, and she was feeling confident, and she kind of like, you know, had gotten rid of some of the shame, and she was walking tall. And I was like, that was enough to think that he had seen a different woman last time. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's fun. It's fun to allow yourself to be in that whole arena of like feeling nice or clothes or pampering, or, you know, it's just like life simple pleasures, you know.
Yeah, it is. It's so gorgeous to remember how worthy we are of love. You know, I think that's really what's coming through in this for me now is like, wow, like, you know, when we focus on just the physical self, you know, and we attribute that to our worth, it can be so hard because there's so many mixed messages. But if we just pull out a little bit and look at our heart and our lives and the fact that we're like a beautiful being that's loved and valued by so many people, from that space we can see our worth, you know, and it doesn't have to be attributed to what it is on the scales or on a tag. That it's like, okay, from this space I love my worth, you know, I love my worth as all of I am. And then from that space we work with our bodies, with ourselves to, you know, to better our day because we deserve it.
That's it, because also it's kind of like if we really review what's gone on. So first of all, having disordered eating or weight problems and like just being obsessed with that whole scene, it's something like some people will never ever understand or have to put up with. So it's kind of like, I think we deserve a bit of compassion for going through it. And then equally, if we were ever brave enough to say it out loud to someone, like, imagine if I was like to you, Trisha, it's really weird actually, I don't know what's wrong with me, but like sometimes I just like, all I can see is ugliness, like all I can see is like my fatness and my gross thighs and my cellulite, and like I just kind of think about what I eat all the time, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just kind of scared of gluten, and I don't want to eat too much gluten, I don't want to eat too much meat, and I don't want to eat too much dairy, and I don't want to eat too much sugars. And like sometimes I really obsess about it, and then sometimes I get so worked up that like I actually binge loads, and like, you know, like as if you would say, oh, so that makes you less of a person, as like if that would say, like as if you would say, oh, therefore you're less lovable, oh, therefore, do you know, I dislike you now.
When you tell me that, like, and my heart is just like, I want you to know how much I love you. Like, I don't look at your thighs. I adore laughing with you. Do you know what I mean? I love being in the same room with you. Like, I love like hanging out and watching shit TV and like going for a walk in nature. Like, never once do I look at your body and think that that's why I hang out with you. Do you know what I mean?
Know.
Isn't it so mad?
But like that's what happens when we don't kind of vocalize our thoughts. And sometimes I think even if we say them out loud, because then you realize how just super ridiculous and damning they are. You know, because it's kind of like, oh, you put on weight, you're just an invisible useless human or something. It's like, whoa. like what is that link? Like,
did we erase every friendship? Like, how did that happen? Like, you know, like the mind is so nuts. Like,
it is so nuts.
Like, I keep on saying this recently, and it's like, the mind is a mad place. Like, and unless you realize that not everything you think is a fact, like, we're off in a race on our own. Do you know what I mean? No one's going to pull you back, like, because you're the only one in there. You know,
you're the only one hearing it. Because if you were saying it out loud, someone would be like, "You're talking nonsense."
Yeah, you'd be like, "What?"
Like, because even like, you know, me saying all that out loud, like, and I do remember having the balls to say to one of my friends one time when I was still a little bit of a mess, my eating, I was like, do you know, it's really weird actually, like I ate a whole big bag of Maltesers after breakfast, and like then I kind of felt really guilty and like kind of hated myself for a few hours. And like she doesn't have issues, so she was kind of like, oh geez, you didn't need to do that, sure, it's just do you know, like she was like, why would you do that? But if you're living in your head where your head is like, do you realise how much fat and sugar is in a share bag of Maltesers? You know, and you're really listening to that all day, like that's your truth. And then I always think about it, it's like kind of like, you know, when sunlight hits a vampire, you know, I kind of think that's what it's like saying some of our negative thoughts out loud, because they just disappear. Like they just like, even saying them out loud, like I remember sometimes once I'd say stuff out loud, I'm like, I know that sounds ridiculous. Like, I know that's not true. I know I can't eat a few slices of toast and wake up fatter. Like, I know that's not true, but like in your head, it's really true.
I know. And that we're somehow you know, less lovable because of it, you know. Like that link is there, you know. I think we're less worthy, you know, like less worthy.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have to kind of call time on that. Like, we have to kind of see that for what it is, you know?
Like, if you think about the people that you love, like, what do you love about them? Like, I would never be like their body. I don't know, it's awful.
Give a crap, like.
It's the feeling in your heart that you have with someone, like, you know, the feeling in their presence, like.
Yeah.
And if their presence is, like, love and acceptance and joy, like, you know, no matter what case that comes in, or, you know, it's the heart that exists forever. Like, when someone isn't in the room or someone has passed away, like, you never think of, you know, like, you just don't think of it, like. So
no,
I don't know, like, I think we need to pull out our view a little bit.
But also, I kind of think the thing is that, you know, if you were overcoming something or in a phase or whatever, you know, people are very, very understanding of that. And then equally, like with weight, you would be very understanding. You know, first of all, you probably wouldn't like care too much or be that wildly interested. But if someone was going through a hard time with food and, you know, they'd been secret eating or binging a little bit more or whatever, you'd be like, you know, they're getting through their stuff. Like they're, you know, they'll figure it out. But like, I think that's the other kind of thing we have to relate more to other areas of our life too, because in our head, it's very permanent, you know. It's kind of like, because I struggle with weight, I'll always struggle with weight. Whereas maybe if you were having like, I don't know, a little disagreement with someone, or I don't know, something was going on in any area of your life, you'd hopefully kind of have the understanding that like, this too shall pass. Like, I'll get out the other side of this. It won't always be that bad. Do you know? So I kind of think that kind of thinking as well with our weight or our eating. Do you know what I mean? Like, if our weight came on from a lot of disordered and bingy kind of eating, seeing that as a specific chapter that had specific causes, you know, but it's not your personality. It's not like your permanent destiny. It was a set of things that went on last year or whatever.
Symptoms.
Different ones. And different ones the year before and different ones the year before that. So there's always little things to work on, you know, but it is just like anything. It's like you can learn more about yourself, and especially in this whole field, it's like maybe we've done all the learning. Maybe we've consumed a lot of diet advice and nutritional information and read a lot of packets and stuff, and it's unlikely to have helped. So it's kind of like, no, what do your taste buds say? When does your stomach feel nice after food? When does your stomach not feel nice after food? When do you feel really heavy and gross or bloated or have gastric reflux, or, you know, just learning through comfort and discomfort what your body wants more of and what it wants less of.
That's a real choice of love, isn't it? Really, like moment to moment love, where you're like, I really want myself to feel good.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
I want to sleep well tonight so that I'm rested for work tomorrow, so I don't have to be, you know. So it's like, you know, it's that moment by moment choice to make life just that 10% more comfortable, that 10% easier, that 10% happier.
That's it. And I think when we're struggling with the trust, yet again, it would be really really important to remember, because say if we're afraid to trust our body because we think trusting our body won't help our weight or our health, I think it'd be very important to remember the times when we were in the most fear. And did that help? Like, did that help our eating or our weight? Because chances are the time we were in the most fear was the most disordered eating. So that is why we can kind of really start seeing the value of not listening to that fear and trusting our body, because chances are our weight would have come on when we were in that fear and urgency of like, I'll just eat everything tonight and then be good again tomorrow, and I'm going to try and cut out chocolate, so this is the last chocolate I'll eat for a week now, so I'll eat loads of it. That's all fear, that's all scarcity. Whereas say the times you were very hungry and had a gorgeous dinner and your belly felt lovely after it, that's not what gained weight. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The sentence, you know, if I loved my body, what would I do in this moment?
Well,
if I loved my self, if I loved whatever, you know, that kind of energy, like where
Because that's what we were kind of saying at the start.
Yeah.
That like, how would this evening go? So if you had that thought,
yeah,
if I loved my body, if I thought me and my body deserved a lovely day,
yeah,
what choices would I make? What choices would I make with food? Like, maybe I'd join in the world again, you know, with all the foods that I've been trying to keep at arm's length. Maybe I would experience those tastes, because that's what tasty foods are for. They're more for the experience of taste. Like, most of the really processed foods, they don't work well in large volumes, you know. They
Yeah.
don't make us feel amazing in large volumes, because they're not like nutritionally robust. They're a fantastic taste experience that we all deserve to be
Yeah.
part of. But like, so, you know, maybe that's one of the things that you would do what would you do if you were going to, whatever your sentence was, love your body
Yeah.
and love yourself today? Yeah.
Just to love, to, you know, like I obviously believes we're like, you know, we have a soul, like, you know, that we're not just meat, you know, that we have like so much more to us. We're so expansive, and that if we're experiencing this life, you know, then how can we enjoy it, you know?
Well, you know what freaks me out, because I know you would have done this too, but like, you've a photo of probably little Trisha somewhere,
know, yeah.
and I have a photo of little Aoife, and like, you just, you know, so it's a way to cop on and not talk badly to yourself. So if you
Yeah.
keep a really cute photo of yourself around, that's like you when you're 2 or something, be like, how dare you talk to her like that? Do you honestly think she could take it? Do you honestly think she's going to benefit from
I have
talking
one
to her
of
like that?
my dad and my mum at my christening, holding me.
Oh, cute. And how much love they had for you and everything.
They were like holding me like I was, honest to God, the most precious thing. My mum was like, oh my God. And I could see my dad was like delighted, like, you know, to have a daughter, like, you know.
Oh my God.
And like, and every time I look at it, it really strikes me. I'm just like this, like, it even gets me emotional even thinking about it. I'm like this little pudding.
And it's still you.
It's still me, you know, like that little baby. Like, if I had whispered into her ear and told her what she would go through over the past like 33 years, like,
Yeah.
be, you know, scary, like
Yeah.
really scary, and it'd be hard, and you know, some of it would be joyous, and the things I'd experienced, like, I wouldn't even have believed her, but like, God, like, if she's still listening to me, I really hope I'm being nice to her.
Well,
you
this
know,
is it.
like,
But I think the freaky deaky biology part of that is
Yeah.
that when you're looking at that little photo, you know, the
Yeah.
way you were saying where our souls were not our body,
Yeah.
literally there's nothing left of her on this earth.
oh, she's disappeared because every 7 years her body regenerates.
Yeah.
Ah,
So
what?
there's not one brain cell,
Oh.
there's not one, like, even I think the microbiota regenerates. So it's kind of like,
Weird.
there's literally any of that mass you see in the photo is no
gone.
longer on the planet.
Oh my God, that is actually insane.
It's freaky. So you're like, if you don't share a heart muscle or something with her, if you don't share a brain cell with
Yeah.
her, how are you connected?
Our souls, like.
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? So I kind of think that's like, I think that's good to remember as well, because you know, when we're in a bad place with our weight, we think everything is fixed and
Forever.
innate and
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
whereas actually our body is the most temporary thing.
Yeah.
And that's
I had a triple chin. Like, here's a picture of me when I'm 2 years old, one of those old walkers, you know, the ones like where it's
cute.
like drooling and I'm laughing and like I'm gorgeous, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm
yeah.
a total puncher and I'm gorgeous, like,
Yeah.
she's so cute, like, I'm like just sort of squeeze her cheeks, like, you know.
Oh my God. But I think it's so worth kind of just thinking how transient it
Yeah.
all is, because you know, people go on a lot about like, oh, it's, you know, genes, and especially when it comes to weight and health. But there's your genes, right, that you inherit.
Yeah.
But then there's gene expression. And gene expression, like, as in, say, whether that gene will, say there's a gene for grey hair
Yeah.
or something, whether that gene will express itself will be based on your kind of lifestyle choices, you know, how stressed
yeah.
you are, how
Interesting.
healthy you are, all
Yeah.
of those things. So it's like totally the same with our weight. Like, nothing is our destiny in terms of weight, you know, carried back from, say, the genes we had. So that's why I kind of think bringing it around to get again to like say, what would you do this evening if you loved your body, and if you loved yourself. So maybe you'd make some lovely choice to think relaxing thoughts, think positive thoughts, think supportive thoughts. Just take a night off from negative thinking, and then maybe do some pampering, and then maybe taste some nice foods and get a nice feeling in your belly from food. And who knows, like what genes will code for, maybe there was a gene about to code for cellulite or about to code for grey hair and now won't.
Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows? But like equally just in terms of the fluctuations of our fuel stores, like our body is always like using some fuel from our glycogen stores and then our fat stores and then from our diet. So it's kind of like this little evening does really matter. It really, really matters, and yet again, not to freak ourselves out and be perfect, but in terms of like, if you can do stuff to make your body be in a nice environment and your mind be in a nice environment and your stomach to feel nice, that's really going to add up and pay off.
Yeah. That's so mad. Like, I know, I just realized, like, I'm only on this podcast is like, just a novice. Like, I have no idea about any of the stuff you're talking about. I know nothing about genes. I know nothing about why the bodies are the way they are. My only experience is really like my own personal journey with, the negativity that the mind can cause in the life, in the life of a human, that the belief that we are our mind can cause, that if we stay in the space of not finding the separation between the thought and reality, that it can cause such destruction and anxiety and fear and smallness and valuelessness, and really, like, however that manifests, it could manifest as a poor relationship, or it could manifest as like, not living to your full potential, or it could manifest as, your weight or whatever it is. But like,
how many thoughts from fear are you listening to, and how many thoughts from love are you listening to? Because everything we think and everything we say, it's either coming from fear or love. It's that simple.
I know.
It's either coming from fear or love. So we're just kind of, it'd be good to monitor,
But I definitely think though that like changing, obviously changing your thought changes your life. Like that's it. Like, Louise Hay was always like, love yourself, heal your life. That was as simple as her message was. She was just like, love yourself, your life will be healed. And I was just like, that's pretty simple. And then I went into it and I was like, okay, like it makes sense. So,
it really makes sense with weight though, because it's kind of like, if you really loved yourself, you wouldn't be eating a load of crap, tasteless diet food.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that.
No, you just buy the,
and then that crap, tasteless diet food and meals upon days of not enjoying your food is what leads to a binge, which is all highly uncomfortable and you feel really gross afterwards and all that. And if you really loved yourself, you wouldn't think you deserve that either. Yeah. So it's kind of like, and by cutting those things out, well, then your weight will naturally regulate back to what it's designed to be.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of like loving yourself and thinking that you deserve on a daily basis to feel very well, whatever about tomorrow, whatever about personal bests or how much weight you need to lose this month or whatever, just focusing on how well you deserve to feel today, physically and emotionally, that would actually sort it.
But for me, I suppose I'm just like, God, I really for younger Trisha, I really wouldn't want to associate thinking love so you could lose weight, like that it would be actually more thinking loving thoughts so that you would just feel peace in yourself. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And like if weight loss comes, fine, but like, God, all I wanted was peace, like
I know.
And in ways I probably thought that the weight would give me peace, the weight loss would give me peace, or
I know
perfectionism would give me peace.
See, I know that whole theory and I get it and stuff, and obviously it's the gold standard, but I do think if you're a binge eater, you're obsessed with weight. So I do think it's quite hard to be incentivized to do anything.
Okay.
Unless it kind of at some stage might be positive for your weight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I
know.
I don't know, so I can't comment.
Well, I think, I suppose for me it was certainly like giving up on the weight and focusing on the daily feeling nice with food. And then it was more of a surprise that
led
to weight loss. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Rather
Yeah.
than me, I wasn't like watching it or anxious about it. It was
Yeah.
just focusing on the feeling good every day.
Yeah.
Do you know? So it is that more immediate goal, I think. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's more of an immediate goal. Like you say, like feeling love and stuff, that's an immediate payoff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no like
There's no agenda
There's no
with
long term thing with it. It's just like, oh, I get to feel love now. God, this is great. you
Yeah, I
know?
get to approve of myself. I
Or-
get to say well done.
You know, even like even starting doing that work is hard because like even I remember looking in the mirror with the Louise Hay work. You do mirror work, you know. So like, and that's hard to look in the mirror and be like, I love you, when you really don't believe it. You know.
Yeah, you're definitely going to cry the first time you do that.
The first time, I keep on going. Like,
Yeah.
But it's more, you know, if the feeling of love can't be there, then just the willingness to be nice might be able to be there. Do you know that we can soften it and make it more accessible.
And I think some forgiveness happens with that, doesn't it? Like if you, like the Louise Hay practice of looking in the mirror, looking into your eyes and saying, I love you, you'll probably, for me anyway, it was bawling, crying, because it was a bit of a wake up call of like,
How much
what have I
don't.
been doing?
I know.
What the hell am I doing? Why? What is this negative voice about? What is all this abuse about? Like
Yeah.
constantly. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
And we don't deserve, like, that little baby doesn't deserve that, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And like her eyes, like I know that he's like there's not an ounce of her left or whatever you said before, but like, you know, like it's her eyes are looking into that.
I think that's why it's so moving,
Yeah.
because you're remembering who you are, like,
The
do you know what I
innocence of
mean?
it.
Like, and just like all that fear that you've put on yourself is not warranted. Do you know what I mean?
So not warranted.
Mm-hmm.
We are so much more than just this body, and yet we deserve to enjoy the body.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? We deserve to enjoy all of the great, immense pleasures of having a body that we are like a tag team with, that we're delighted to be in and play and run and love and hug and eat great food and swim.
Exactly.
And like all those gorgeous expressions.
And dress up or start a new hobby or, you know, go to whatever shop we want, not avoiding people, not avoiding events or whatever. It's like we deserve to go all in, because also this body is a result maybe of a crazy time of eating that we're now ready to get over. We're now ready to leave that chapter in the past, so we can be moving on in our mind. And like I say, the weight will take its time to wear off, but we can be kind of moving on in our mind, moving to a positive place. And I think with that, it would be like allowing yourself to do all of those fun things, because they really help you snap out of the fear and the rush as well.
How what supports do we pull in to help us do that?
I think, well, I don't know, is it putting too simply, but what would fear have you do and then do the opposite? Because maybe, like, I was just thinking, one of my clients was saying the other day, they were driving to Dublin and her and her husband stopped at a filling station and they shared a pizza and it was really lovely and the kids got stuff too. And I was like, that's so cool, because I just kind of think what a dieter would do maybe is be like, no, I can't have the pizza because I'm fat and I'm meant to be losing weight. And then maybe get home that night and eat a whole jar of peanut butter. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like not memorable, not nice, didn't feel good after it, kind of wrong time of the day. Do you know? And so what would fear have you do and then do the opposite? So in the absence of fear, like you in love with your body, you in love with food, you in love with life, what would you do? Like, I think that's really something to think about, because in no circumstance would you make yourself physically ill from food. Do you know what I mean? Because there's no great crack in that. So it's kind of like, you know, what would me in love with me and my body and my life do? And you can imagine like, oh, what have you got there? That looks nice. I'll have some of that. Yum. And just like enjoying food, but it wouldn't be sinister. Like it wouldn't be in a negative, urgent kind of way, you know? And so I suppose, you know, yet again, just kind of thinking from the mathematical side of it, how much less calories that would mean in a year. Not saying that I'm counting calories, but just yet again the whole binge eating side of you that is still kind of, where does this weight come from, how could it go side of your brain. It's kind of like, well, you eating normally cuts out a rake of excess, unmemorable, sad calories, do you know?
I know. And again, it's more gearing towards a life of
fun.
of fun and love and ease and fullness and joy and
Taking
experience.
part in all
part in
the
life.
beautiful experiences, and food is an experience.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, you know, and this is the thing that dieting makes you do with thinking about weight, like, oh, it would be great if I just didn't like chocolate. And, you know, sometimes people try and turn themselves off and they're like, no, I just need to go off it because, you know, it's not good for my digestion. Or we kind of make up these stories to try and really make sure we don't eat it, and they don't work. And then the flip side of it is like, no, you'd love to eat chocolate. You'd just love to eat it in a positive way. You know what I mean? You'd love to eat it in a positive way that was healthy for your body. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the dream I think we'd want to be visualizing and working towards. Do you know? And practicing. So say, if I was my ideal weight now, ideal relationship with my body, ideal relationship with all foods, how would I eat this chocolate?
Yeah.
And, you know, start practicing, you know,
Yeah.
because that's the other thing. Like with everything, we need practice. And sometimes when we're on and off diets, we actually don't have any practice of like eating a takeaway and feeling nice after it.
Yeah.
Or having some chocolate biscuits and not the whole packet. So it kind of is like, you know, that saying back to the mat with yoga. It's kind of the same with food, you know, that we have to go back to those foods and be like, going to learn how to eat this in a loving way.
And is there like, so say, you know, if I was your friend, which I am obviously, but if I was living with you or with your friend, like how could I support you, you know? Or is it something, I'm just really claiming a space of ignorance here, like how could I support you or someone with binge eating in their journey to that space of, you know, like, or is it something you need to do privately, like, or is everybody different, or I don't
think
know.
you just kind of love and trust them, and you'd say, you know, like, just keep supporting them, like, that sounds good, and like be there with them for the wins, you know, and then like don't catastrophize the losses or don't like play into any failures, you know, because it isn't like, as in, you know, anything in life we learn, we're just constantly pivoting about what works for us and what doesn't. So it's like the feeling of sickness or that we get too much, it's not a failure, it's just, oh, note to self, I don't like this feeling, or I can't eat that many of those because my stomach won't let me, or, you know. But I really think less is more, because it's complicated, you know, in terms of, I'd often have clients and they're well-meaning families, and kind of everything you say is not going to be good, to be honest. It's not going to be good, because if someone is like, why don't you go for a walk, or, do you know, it's like, you know, shut up, I've considered going for a walk. That's not new information, you know.
What's really interesting is that actually what we need, well, actually what I hear you saying is what we need is actually love and acceptance.
Yeah.
Now,
I trust you'll figure this out.
Actually mirroring or helping us see what we need to give ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because if I was like, Trisha, this is grand, like, I trust you'll figure this out.
Yeah.
A little part of your brain would spark that she's right. Like, I could trust myself to figure this out. So I think that's what we have to kind of...
like, I love you where you are. Like,
yeah, you're perfect where you are, but equally, like, I trust you can go for any of your dreams.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like...
I really feel like it is that energy of like, you know, if there is someone in your life or my life or whatever, I really feel like the energy of like, I love you, like I love you and your heart and your soul, and
don't entertain any of the fear,
none of the fear. It's like, I'm not believing that you're less worthy of my love, like, you're.
But there's a lot for people to learn on that, like, because even I had a client the other day and she said she went for a breast cancer check or something, and she's been struggling with eating issues for like 30 years. Like, she'd love to be a healthy weight, but she can't get there. And the nurse weighed her and she was like, do you know your risk of breast cancer is so much higher or whatever? And it's like, people don't realize that people get overweight because they're thinking about that. Because they're thinking like, oh my God, and before you know it, I'll be in like the obese BMI, and then before you know it, I'll have diabetes, and then like, it's all that fear is what drives a lot of the comfort eating.
Yeah.
So you can't fix a problem that's rooted in fear by adding more fear to it. You have
Society kind of needs to fuck off.
Oh, it seriously does. It seriously does. And one thing that we have to be strong enough, if we're kind of committed to our own recovery, it's like, don't you be weighed by anyone if you don't want to be weighed by them. Like, fair enough if, I don't know, if your doctor has to give you something that's, you know, dose per kilogram weight or something, maybe you do. But like, generally, if it's a checkup or something, and it's like, say if you're obese, it's like, what do you need to know? Like, you know, like, you can see me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know. So I kind of think like protecting ourselves from anything that could add more fear to this problem, because what we need to do to get over this problem is dispel the fear, to realize that fear is false evidence appearing real. And without any of this fear and without any of this misinformation and toxicity about like our bodies and food and all that, without any of that, left to our own devices, left to listening to our body, we'd be grand. We'd be absolutely fine. Our weight would be what we'd want it to be. Our health would be perfect. Like, that's what's under all the fear, you know.
And also, equally, I think you've the right to tell people to stop commenting on your body.
Oh, yeah.
Up or down. You know, like I notice in certain circles of my life, like when I walk in, you know, and whatever, you'd notice the energy coming from someone noticing your body. Like, you can feel it, like, and it's sticky because you're like, I don't want to be judged by you right now. And actually your judgment can go back right on your plate.
I know.
And actually, like, I love who I am. Like, I love and accept where I'm at. And if you want to place value on me through your eyes and your judgment system, that's your world, not mine. Like, I know the value of my very being. Like, please back the fuck up. It's not, this is my ground. This is my sovereign space. Back up.
Yeah. And well, I suppose the main thing is to not vocalize it, because like...
Sorry, maybe don't say that out loud, but in your head.
But they wouldn't vocalize it, because like Byron Katie does a really good part in her book, you know, because there's the question and answers kind of live in it. And, you know, basically the guy is like, if that person didn't judge, then I could be happy. And she's like, dude, to be human is to judge. Everyone is judging you all the time, do you know? But it's kind of like, in terms of weight, I think you're right. And then I think in families, there might be a lot of like, you know, moms maybe saying, have you put on a bit of weight, or have you lost a bit of weight? And I think that's like, all of it needs to be shut down, basically, if we're not comfortable. All of it. Like,
and just don't put yourself in those spaces that you know that discomfort may come, you know. So prop yourself up for a life where you're going to win. With people who support your winning. People with a mind that supports your winning. With a lifestyle that supports
and an
your
inner
happiness.
Inner coach that believes in you and sees your potential.
Affirmations around the house, or, you know, whatever it is, like a positive quote in the morning, or like positive meditation, or whatever it is, like just like little acts that support you like, you know?
100%. So I kind of think we've covered a lot there, and I think we kept to the general theme. Did we? So the general theme that we'd written down, accepting where we are. So like the Course in Miracles says, when we accept things, they change. And then I think the opposite of that is when we don't when we don't accept where we are today, when we don't celebrate exactly where we are today, we're resisting our change. So that's our bing. That's us for the day. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you got a lot out of this, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.